Hi, my name is Prasenjit Sarkar and I am a Senior Principal Product Manager for the Cloud Native Applications. Today I'm going to show you a real world application demo on Oracle Functions. So after this demo section, you should be able to use Oracle Function integrated with Oracle Event Service. So let's look at this demo. It is an ETL solution with Oracle Functions and Cloud Events. So in this demo, we should be able to extract, transform, and load data using Oracle Functions. So for the purpose of this demo, we will upload some CSV files to the object storage, and Cloud Event Service detects the new files in the cloud storage bucket. Event Service triggers an Oracle function, and that function scales the function behind the scenes to process files concurrently. And the function extracts, transforms, and stores the data from the files into the autonomous data warehouse. All right. So let's look at the architecture in here. So a user should be able to drop a CSV file into an object storage bucket first, and that will emit an event. And that event is going to trigger a function. That function will extract and load the data into ADW, and then a file is moved to the process bucket. This is a whole scenario where we are integrating a lot of different services of OCI. Okay, let's look at the demo now. Okay, so I am logged into my tenancy in OCI. I need to make sure that my tenancy has required permissions to read the repos in my tenancy, and I also need to make sure that the function family can access the virtual network family as well. So first thing first, I need to click on in here, go down, go to the identity, and first thing first, look at the policies. So let's look at the policy at the root compartment level. And here I have already created this fnpol, and you can see that fnpol is nothing but having these two written statements. The first statement is I need to give fn access to my VCN, and I need to give fn access to my OCIR, because that is where we will be uploading the Docker image to, and we'll be pulling it down when we execute that. Okay, so this is the policy that you need to write on the tenancy level at the root compartment level. That's the first thing that you have to do. Now, the second thing that we have to do now is go here and go to the developer services, and let's look at the functions. And I will change that compartment to my desired compartment, which is FRA-01. And you can see that when you go to FRA-01 and then the application, you'll see that it is already giving you the required service policy that you should have. So you don't need to remember or memorize this. So you can just copy and paste this into your root compartment into the policy section. And of course, you should have a VCN. So I'm assuming that you should have a VCN already set up. Click on Create Application, give it a demo, Object Event Demo. This is my VCN. My subnet is, I'm putting it into the public subnet, and I say that log to the object storage, and you can change this to syslog URL, and you can send this log to any other paper trail or any other logging app. Click on Create. So my application has been created. Now the best part about the function is that we have integrated this with the OCI Cloud Shell. So let's look at how do I create that environment? How do I access this from the OCI Cloud Shell and not having a single binary installed on my laptop? So let's go inside this application. And you can see that this create function and all of that. Now we will be clicking on getting started. Now here you see that there are two different options. One is the local setup and the second one is the Cloud Shell setup. So in the Cloud Shell, your shell already have your user authentication already inbuilt. So you can just use that to authenticate against the FN family. So let's click on Launch Cloud Shell. Okay, so the Cloud Shell is open now. Now let's copy this command and paste it in here. You can click on this copy button as well. And least context. The least context is showing that EU Frankfurt is already enabled, and that's my default one. So I don't need to use this context anymore. Now I need to run this command. So this is going to update the context of these functions to this compartment ID. Now I need to run this fn update context command, and this is going to update the functions compartment ID. Okay, and here I need to update the context for the OCIR registry that we are going to use. So fn update context registry, this is my tenancy and my URL for the OCIR. And then I'm going to say that a name of the repo, which is, let's say, CNA. You need to generate an authentication token, and you can click on it in here. Let's look at the authentication. Let's look at the authentication token in here, and you're going to see that you can create a token, clicking on generate token and then give it a token, and then you can copy that. And that's the token that you're going to use to authenticate against your OCIR as your password. I have already done that. So I'm going to say Docker login. Password is nothing but the token that you have just generated. Login succeeded. Let's look at the apps that we have created. So this apps is listed in here, obj event demo. Now from here, we'll be using not create a hello world, but we have written our code, and that is something that we're going to use as a function. So I have my code in here. So let's look at my files. So I have a couple of CSV files, as you can see it here. Then I have that func.py. This is my actual code. Then my func.yaml, this is the definition. Then I have an image, I have a readme, and the requirements as well, right? So from here, let's deploy the app. And you can see that it's creating the Docker container. It's going to take some time. It's going to run a bunch of tasks. Like, you can see that there are 12 different tasks that should be run to create this Docker container, and then it will be pushed to the OCI registry. Okay, so the application has been deployed. Now we need to make sure that this environment has a dynamic group and a policy already created. So what we have to do, let's go to another tab and let's go to the identity and let's click on dynamic groups. And this is required for the application to use the RPST or resource principal session token to authenticate against other OCI services such as ADW in this case. So this is a dynamic group that I have created. If you just go in here, you should see that I said that all resource type is fn func. This is the fixed resource type, and the resource compartment ID is the FRA01 compartment ID that I have given in here. So that's about creating a dynamic group, and we need to create a rule as well, which is the policy. Now in the policy, let's go to the root compartment, and you can see that a policy called fn dynamic policy has been created. Let's click on it here. And for the sake of simplicity, I said that allow dynamic group fn dyn group to manage all resources in tenancy. So just not about the ADW or the object storage bucket, but I'm allowing it to access, I'm allowing the FN to access all other resources within OCI. Okay, let's come back, and now let's go back to the same tab and let's look at the database. So we need to make sure that database is up and running. So it takes time. So let's click on create database, and I say FRA01. I'm going to give it a name called demo, our database name called demo. It's an ADW. It's a shared infrastructure, 19C, 1 OCPU, 1 terabyte of storage. Auto scaling is on. Username is admin, and I need to give it a password. All right. And I'm saying allowing secure access from anywhere. License is included, and create autonomous database. Don't save. Okay, while this provisioning is going on and it's going to take some time, we're going to create the object storage buckets. So let's click on object storage, go to the object storage, and let's click on create bucket. Give it a name called input-bucket. It's a standard tier, and it should emit the object events, and that is where our code will come into play. And based on the file creation event in the event rule, it's going to fire up the function. And that's about it. And I'm going to click on create bucket. So I already have created a processed bucket in here. So once the file are processed from one bucket, it is going to be copied over to the process bucket once my function has finished running. Let's go back to the autonomous data warehouse and see where it is right now. Okay, looks like this database is up and running now. Let's go to the database and let's click on Service Console. Let's go to the development, and we need to have this RESTful services and soda URL. This URL we require to inject the data or inject the process data into the ADW from the object storage. Okay, so we need to take this and run a couple of functions to make sure that our database is ready to accept. Okay, so we need to run a couple of config function from the fn command line, and make sure that the fn can talk to the database, use the username and password, and we need to also make sure that our input bucket and process bucket is also mentioned within the variables. Okay, so let's do that. So I have copied it down. Okay, so my configuration has been done. Now what we have to do is create a collection. To do that, we need to run a curl command to here. Okay, so my collection has been created, which is called region numbers. Now what we have to do is to check the data within that. Okay, so you can see this data has been processed, and I can see this JSON data in here. So now what we have to do is to run the truncate function to truncate this data so that whatever we push, that is going to be a new and fresh data within this collection. All right, so my truncate operation has been completed, and I can see this HTTP 200. Okay. All right, now what we have to do is to make sure that the event rules are there, and let's create this event rule from here. So scroll down, go to the application integration, click on this event service, and let's click on event service and create a rule. display name load-obj demo. So the first thing first, event type. So event type first thing is the object storage. Click on this object storage. I'm saying that object create. So this is the first rule that you need to have. So that's the rule condition, object create. Now we need to have another action. Now that's called attribute. The first attribute is bucket name, and we're gonna say bucket. And now the attribute is compartment name. That's fra-01. And action type, function, compartment, fra-01, my function, application, and my function. That's about it. And then click on create rule. So event matching 3, actions 1, my event has been completed. Now let's upload the file, that CSV file, into the object storage. Now I have to go to the input bucket, and you can see this file1.csv is here. So we have uploaded this file1.csv file, and it should actually trigger the function. Now, how do you make sure that it has been triggered, and also it has injected the data into the ADW? So from here, you can click on this SQL. When you go to the autonomous database warehouse and go to the service console, from service console, from the same console where you have copied this RESTful services and soda URL, click on this SQL Developer Web. It is going to open up the SQL Developer Web in a new tab, and then run a query to make sure that the data has been injected. And you can run this query and to get the data from the SQL Developer. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.